Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of SUGTalks. I'm Craig Dale, your host, and together with our special guest, we'll take a deep dive into the topics, challenges, and opportunities facing SAP users today. Please make sure you hit that subscribe button so you never miss another episode. I'm delighted today to be joined by Paul Tormey, Partner Delivery Manager at SAP SuccessFactors, and Melissa Pekovic, Senior Solution Architect, SAP Training and Adoption, EMEA North at SAP, and also Paul Huston, IT Delivery Manager of Princess Group, and also co-chair of the UK&I SUG Finance SIG. So welcome, everybody. And in today's episode, we're going to be discussing SAP certifications. But before we get into that, I just thought I'd ask a quick icebreaker question to get us all talking. And the question today is, if you could eliminate one food so that no one would ever eat it again, what would it be and why? So while I kind of give you a few seconds to ponder that, there's two things that cropped into my mind straight away. One, cauliflower. Now, I know people like cauliflower. I think it's a devil's food, but making it so nobody could eat it again, I suppose I'm kind of pushing out those people that love cauliflower, but that would be first on my list. And potentially anything promoted by these so-called social media influencers. The things we've seen over these prime drinks in the UK over the past month or so has just been ridiculous. So yeah, that's my thought. So anyway, dropping you at the deep end, Paul Houston.
Okay, thanks, Craig. That's a tough one because I've got a healthy appetite and I tend to eat most things. But probably the one I'd go for it is sort of shellfish, particularly mussels. Classic story, ate them one time, suffered the after effects of them not being cooked properly. I've never gone near them since. So yeah, I'd definitely eliminate them.
All right, thank you. I think my wife would support you in that as well. Melissa.
Well, I definitely will not take out, cauliflower or, any of seafood because those are, one of my favorites. But maybe, I was just thinking about like artichokes because like a few days ago, we were just discussing that, you know, no one really knows, what is the taste of it. At least, when it is not like stuffed or, wrapped in some bacon. Otherwise, yeah. Um I could live without that, and I guess that half of the world could live without that. But
Thank you.
maybe
And
they
what
have
would
some vitamins, minerals. I'm not sure. So
Yeah, I suppose it's a vegetable of some sort, isn't it?
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
what what would you add to the list, Paul?
I think it's an easy one for me. It's going to be a pickle because I don't see the point in them, and they're always on those burgers that you get, and I just am tired of picking them off. I'm not allergic to them by any means, or haven't had a bad experience with them. Just don't like them. I don't see the point.
All right. Oh well, thank you all very, very much, and just that introduction into the podcast, and just so back to the topic in hand. We've recently published our SAP certifications guide, and wanted to take this opportunity to take a deep dive into the topic, and just to start us off, Paul Tormey, if you may, how important do you think SAP certification is?
I think it's really important for for three different separate groups. Let's say, I think for the customer, it's important that they're able to validate the people they're working with, that they have the core competency that's needed. It also allows themselves to build up skills in house and kind of manage and kind of organize those skills. For the individuals then who are taking the certification, I think it's important because it helps them in their career, right? So certification represents an achievement, and it's acknowledgement of knowledge on a topic. So it can really help you to progress in your career. And then for us as a vendor, it's also really helpful because not only do we get a method to be able to see what skills are out there in the marketplace, and we can get some visibility and reporting on that. But also, it's a way that keeps us engaged with the people in the community. So of course we have learning journeys, so when the product is changing, we're going to add new things to those learning journeys. So the people who are certified are going to, at least in the success factor world, by doing Delta certifications, they're going to be the first ones to get access and be able to test that new knowledge out. So I think it's really important, and it's important for different groups for slightly different reasons.
Thank you. And just swapping across to you, Paul, from a customer perspective, what's your view on that?
Yeah, so there's two different groups from a customer perspective. We've got the internal team, so it's great when we're looking to recruit people if they have got certifications. That does show a level of skill. But also from the side of working with partners, I think it's quite good to ask to see the certificates that any partners that you're going to be working with have and their abilities in that area.
Thank you. And Melissa?
I would agree with both Pauls, and I think that by certification we are actually assuring and increasing the adoption about among like different groups that we mentioned, whether we speak about functional technical certification or technical and functional solutions. We are always sure, and we are that way safeguarding projects and implementations, mitigating risks, and of course we are making both like partners, customers, and individual professionals ready for new features, new solutions for cloud releases, and so on.
Thank you. And staying with you, Melissa, if I may, what
Mhm.
resources are available to help organizations find out more about certifications?
There are actually many various sources, and among many sources, I would somehow underline SAP learning journeys. What are SAP learning journeys? They are basically visual guides which are showing and illustrating exact paths that SAP professionals should take from very beginning, from what we say like overview, then till become competent, and then to stay current and expand your skills, and leading you to certification exam. And then the second one is definitely as well a training shop where you can see the list of available certifications, how certifications are done, and by clicking on each of these certifications, you can see what content is needed for obtaining the certification. And then, of course, based on this information, you can decide how would you like to learn. Whether you would like to take some public scheduled classes, to arrange trainings for your company, or to follow your self-study route via SAP online learning platform called SAP Learning Hub.
Thank you. And from the customer side, Paul, do you as a customer fully understand what resources are available to you?
Yes, so for our particular organisation, we've got a decent understanding. We found the learning journeys to be particularly useful, and I can cite a recent story from the last 12 months where we've hired a person into the team, very new, very raw in terms of experience level in their particular domain. So we actually used the learning journey to pick out, well, in that particular domain, what are the skills that are required for that role, and we married that up with our internal on the job training, and are also complementing it with some of the SAP classroom training. So as a sort of guide, I found the learning journeys particularly useful.
Thank you. And just back to you, Melissa, if I may.
Mhm.
What is an example of a learning journey?
We can take, for example, as for HANA finance learning journey. It will start with as for finance overview training. Then it will go to as for financial accounting business processes. So it will be like next level. So basically, we will be starting, from very overview level of training. Then we will be skipping, to business process level of training, and then deep diving to level 3 training, what we call it is configuration customizing, like more advanced ones. So for example, we will go either into some configurational topics, or we will go to some like deep dive topics, for example on asset accounting or reporting training and so on. And then of course we will have some stay current topics, and then expand your skills. It will mean that it will bring us to some content which is maybe not like in the same learning path as for financial accounting, but some topics that are connected, like for example SAP Analytics Cloud, or something like that. And of course we will have here as well certification. It will show us a direct line to certification, and as well it will show us other ways how we can obtain a certification. In this case, it would be standard SAP academies, a sort of condensed learning method, combining all these trainings from the very beginning till the very upper and advanced level, and then as well blended learning academies, which are combination of self-study via SAP Learning Hub, meaning that we will consume the content which we have on Learning Hub, but we can apply for additional sessions via SAP experts.
Yeah, just to add on that from a customer's perspective, as a customer who's currently starting on that journey to S4, the learning journeys are definitely something we're going to be leveraging as we upskill our existing workforce who are familiar with obviously ECC and what's the Delta training they they need to be able to support us on our S4 journey. You also mentioned, Milica, a resource that I'd actually forgotten about, to be honest, but we've used it several times. It is some of the SAP Learning Academies. So myself and colleagues have personally attended some of them sessions, sort of half-day sessions, typically the ones I've been in, and found them really useful.
Okay, thank you. And what kind of topics do those learning academies cover?
So the latest one I attended was one on the, I know it's recently been rebranded to DataSphere, but it was the Data Warehouse Cloud one we attended just before Christmas, if memory serves correct. Again, it was, yeah, small group, just to get that initial insight and hands-on. It was good.
Oh, excellent. Thank you. So lots of
So
things
yeah.
there for customers to have a look at. Sorry, Melissa.
So we have like different topics. Mostly those are let's say functional topics from like finance, production planning or manufacturing, procurement, sales, and they are divided as well into blended learning academies for SAP S for HANA on-prem, and then as well we have the ones for S for HANA Cloud, and of course, as Paul mentioned, there are like few technical ones, for example, for on ABAP or things like that.
Thank you. And just moving over to partner accreditation. And Paul, Tommy, I just wondered, could you provide some further details on SAP's new competency framework? Why has it changed, and what customers should be aware of with that?
Yeah, sure. So I think why it's changed has a lot to do with what customers need, right? So in the past, I think the Partner Edge program is about 18 years old or so, and in the past we kind of ranked or tiered partners a lot in terms of sales performance and how much they were business they were bringing in. And that moved with the competency framework more towards skills and competencies, right? And I think the reason that is there's a shift more on not just how much business you're bringing, but actually how many customers are adopting the products that are out there. So the competency framework really rewards partners that have built up knowledge on a particular area, and also can deliver on that knowledge. So it's very much heavily focused on the number of projects that you've successfully implemented. I think for customers, that's really helpful because when you go to resources like the Partner Finder, you'll be able to see the level of expertise that a particular partner organization has. And you'll also be able to drill down and see, okay, how many projects has that company done in the last overall, and then in the last year, how many in my industry. So it's a good starting point for a conversation with their partner. So it really fulfills that, I suppose, mandate of being very transparent with customers in terms of the information we have.
Thank you. And when we're looking at that, when engaging with a partner, what do you feel that what are the questions customers should be asking and looking for when it comes to skills and accreditation?
Yeah, so it's anything and everything really. I think nothing should be off the table. The good thing about the tools that we put out there is that customers can do the research on their own first of all, so they can get prepared for a conversation. They can use the competency framework to get a picture of the partner. They can use the Credly website to even drill down and look at the competency of an individual. So that there's a directory there, so you can actually see, okay, does a particular person have a certain certification badge? Is it valid? Does it expired, etc. So there's a lot of information that the customer can do in advance of a conversation with a partner, but they still have to ask the questions. So it really is about asking not just, okay, who's going to be working on my project and what certifications do they have, and show me that they have the valid one, but it's what projects have you done in the past? How similar were the projects for that organization compared to mine? What went wrong on those projects? What can I learn? How long are we going to be working on this? Is there aftercare? How long is the aftercare? So I liken it to the customer should look at this as hiring an individual to work for them. And the same way is that you'd go through an interview and you'd be very diligent in hiring someone. You'd do your background checks, but you'd also ask some tough questions in the interview. The customer should approach it the same way. And the partners, a good partner, will be prepared for that and happy to answer it, right? I think if you boil it down to, I heard it on LinkedIn that when you're hiring someone, you're going to look for three things, right? Can they do the work? Will they like the work, and will we like working with them? And I think that approach is a similar one that you could take with partners. So um, anything and everything's off the table. Ask lots of questions. Don't assume, and use the resources out there to get prepared and also to validate. That would be, I guess, my advice.
Oh, thank you. And just coming over to the customer perspective, Paul, do you have any views on that?
I would echo a lot of what Paul said. I mean, certainly the certifications is one part, so you know that there's that level, but definitely it comes down to the experience and what that partner's done on previous implementations in similar sort of verticals that we would operate in. That's really important. And asking the partner to be honest about where it hasn't gone well. I think that's quite good to get that transparency. I do think it another point as well, not so much on the skills and accreditation, but also that cultural fit of how the partner works. Is it suited to the organisation itself?
That's interesting. And so from that, from your perspective, how important are certifications versus practical experience and culture, etc.?
Um, Personally, I would say the experience thing would be more important to a degree historically for us. We'd want to see, well, what are the battle scars of that particular partner? Have they been through this, or have they literally just walked out of the classroom and they've got the certificate? But I do feel, and obviously this is changing as we go through time, as we move into S4, obviously with the level of skills that are out there in the market and experience of actually doing that transition, I think there is a reliance on that certification model to take some assurance. Obviously, that will change as more and more people go through implementations and that skill set becomes wider.
Thank you. And yeah, I suppose there's a lot of transferable skills out there as well from previous versions of SAP moving towards S4 as well in a similar vein
Yeah.
in certain cases. And from an SAP perspective, Paul, what's your advice there to customers around that importance, certifications versus practical experience, etc.
Yeah, well, similar to what Paul said, experience trumps a lot. You need to have the experience to show that you've gone through this before. In an ideal world, you're going to have both, right? So even an experienced consultant, someone who's been around a long time, they should still look to get certified, right? I still think that there's always something that you can learn, and there will always be something in that learning journey, as was pointed out, that was new for them. So I still think the experienced people should get certified. There's value there. I think so in an ideal world you have both, but you probably remember the story of Max Verstappen, who was a Formula One driver who was driving in Formula One but didn't have a driving license. So could he drive a car? Absolutely, but he still needed to get that driving license, and I think that's an important aspect to it. Ideally, you'd have both, but it's there's a bit of a balance that needs to go on there, because of course certification doesn't prepare you for everything, but also the experience. There are certain things that you might have missed, so the certification could fill that gap. Ideally, it goes back to what I said. Customers should ask for proof of both, right? So they're able to see when that person gets certified, and they should ask, okay, you've got certified last year. How many projects have you really done? Versus someone who's in the role a long time, you say, okay, you've done a lot of projects. Why haven't you gotten certified? And I think it's an okay and fair question to ask.
Thank you. And Melissa, anything to add?
Yeah, I completely agree with what Paul said, and ideally it would be both. And of course, we give some sort of advantage to experience. And why certification is important, because it is showing us and it is validating someone's knowledge in a really structured and standardized way by SAP methodology and standards. And I think that that is very important for customers once they are choosing partners and when they are doing their implementations. And of course, it is important for SAP professionals even if they have like already the knowledge and everything, it is important that it is done like in a structured and standardized way.
And I forgot to mention, actually, that at least in the success factor world that I'm familiar with, there's two levels of certification too. So you have your associate and then you have your professional. So the professional allows the individual to combine not only their knowledge, but also validate the projects that they've done. So that's another reason. So that experienced person can use that to validate, to boost up their certification and separate it from someone who's been, let's say, freshly certified.
Thank you. And so that's looking at obviously when we're looking to work with partners, etc. And sorry, yeah, Melissa.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that, like in the cloud, in SAP Cloud world, we have something called like a Stay Current program. So it basically means that as new SAP solutions are released and introduced, we have already content which is available on SAP Learning Hub, and as well we have let's say Delta certification exams which are then available to ensure that the SAP skills remain up to date.
Thank you. And so just moving from partners back to customers. So obviously customer looks to work with partners to bring that expertise in and that support in. And but also you need to be looking at I suppose your own internal SAP team, Paul. And so what advice would you give to organizations looking to build its own internal team when it comes to skills and certification?
I think the classroom activities or courses that SAP provide are a great resource, and we've sent colleagues on them where we felt there was room for the skills to be basically put in place. We've also utilised the Learning Hub. Obviously, there's two flavours to the Learning Hub. You've got the one with the live access and the classrooms, which at the time we didn't adopt, and we just had the the learning materials available, which is great. However, I do feel with that resource that it's dependent on the individuals. Because if you're a self-starter, then the Learning Hub stuff is fantastic, and there's a wealth of information there. But if you're not that self-starter, you might be better off going to the classroom. That would be my sort of watch out for that. Just, I guess what I'm saying is consider the learning styles of the individual team members, because one size doesn't fit all.
Yeah, it's very interesting. So we did some work on that when we're looking at obviously the UK SUG Academy, and we were talking to members at the conference, and there's definitely the way people learn is different, and each individual and group have their own style. And I suppose what would be your viewpoint, Melissa, for looking at advice to an organisation looking to build its own team?
Well, first of all, I think that it is important to align on different like roles and skill levels. Uh, if you can do that like internally, that is great. Sometimes companies are approaching us and asking if we can help. So we do conduct something called like learning needs analysis or assessment, checking, where they currently are, how these roles look like, what needs to be changed, how we can assess these needs, and what are the adequate learning paths, and as well what is important and what Paul mentioned, ways of learning, because people are learning different ways, and some are like more self dependent, and then the others really need instructor or expert to share the knowledge with them, and to do some exercises, to ask the questions, and so on. And of course, what is important when we speak about customers and their like internal organizations, every SAP implementation and project is designed to bring some sort of significant change and benefit and advantage. But of course, that benefit does not, part of that of course comes at the very beginning, but not in full. So it means that we need, to do some actions internally to leverage that change, that benefit, and to make it, at a very high, at very significant levels. So it means that we need to really, internally enable our people to establish, support teams, and that way, we need to assure that value of implementation and project really comes out, and that we get the best of the new system capabilities, and to make sure that advantage is there.
Thank you. And S4HANA has been mentioned a few times through this conversation already, and was a key focus of a couple of white papers that we've released over the years. One looking specifically at the skills gap, and from our research, we've still got 70% of our members that are on the journey or looking to start the journey in the next 3 years. So I suppose the question to you, Paul, around how is SAP addressing the skills gap when it comes to S4 HANA to ensure, hopefully, that we have enough skilled and certified consultants in the market for customers.
So there's different programs that will help partners to bring in talent, right? So there's the Partner Talent Initiative that was released. There's also the Fresh Faces Initiative. So we acknowledge we've got to look at different ways to bring people into the ecosystem. And that's one thing, so bringing people in. And then the second is, I think, making that accessible to more people. So the Open SAP platform is about 10 years old now, and I think that's been really, really successful in giving people a starting point, so that people who aren't in the ecosystem and maybe have a barrier of cost where they're not linked to a customer, they're not linked to a partner, but they can see their career heading down this path, can access that information for free. And there's a lot of really, really good courses on the Open SAP platform to get you started on S4HANA. So you're you get a foot in the door, and then you can expand that further through the course available on the Learning Hub. So I personally think it's a great way. I've done a good few courses on that myself, and I really like the platform. So that combined with the different initiatives to bring more consultants in to link them up with partners, hopefully will address the capacity the challenge that we're going to face.
And
Melissa?
when we speak about functional S/4HANA areas, it is important that SAP has upskilling trainings, or we call it like Delta trainings, which are trainings covering. They're created for already experienced SAP experts, and they are covering the differences that are coming with S4, new features and new functionalities. So basically, they are focusing on that and not like on full solutions. So you are spending like less time on studying and enabling, but you are getting the full value. That is what is important. And when we come to technical areas, beside Open SAP as a platform, SAP has learning.sap.com platform, which offers actually a lot of free content, and that is basically standard SAP training content on all areas on BTP. For example, SAP Analytics Cloud or HANA or ABAP, or all different things that are quite important and that you can basically learn free of charge, and even prepare for your certification exams using that platform.
Thank you. And Paul, on your journey to S4, how are you seeing it from your organisational perspective?
In terms of upskilling and doing that Delta training.
Yeah, addressing that gap. Are you finding that there is a gap? Have you got the right skills? You've talked about obviously the things that you've done in the learning academies, etc.,
Mhm.
and the training you've leveraged. Are you finding any challenges on your journey?
Yeah, so a good sort of example for us that's real today is around the BTP. So more and more we're finding that our solutions, when we're looking to answers to business challenges, are pointing us in the direction of the BTP. Today, we don't have that skill set in-house, and we're reliant on partners to support us as we explore it. So we're looking at the availability of the training courses in that area. Paul and Milica both mentioned OpenSAP. I know there's a great course on OpenSAP, Introduction into BTP. So literally, we're starting to go through those. And as Paul said, for that initial, I'll say, foot in the door from our learning, it's a great start. And we'll take that further to see what sort of classroom-based activities are available. And obviously, I have to say, the partner network itself, so the partners we work with, as we implement solutions with them, we do look for them to do the knowledge transfer and upskill that way, sort of as we go through implementations.
Thank you. So just coming back to you, Melissa, because obviously you mentioned BTP earlier. So what other areas are SAP seeing increased interest in certification and training?
Well, BTP is definitely, I think, like number one area, and then of course, as for HANA, different areas like finance, like logistics. It was actually like that, even in previous years. But BTP, like Fiori, HANA, SAP Analytics Cloud, Cloud Platform. Those are the areas where we see like increasing requests, and what is as well when we are speaking about like increasing requests. Somehow in past, it was more popular, or more common, that partners are getting certified, but like in last years, we see like more and more customers starting their certification routes, forming their COEs, wanted to become like more reliant on third parties, and more self-dependent. So they are showing more and more interest in certifications, which was not the case like in maybe like 10 years ago.
Thank you. And just coming to you, Paul, are you seeing any specific demand coming from the partners where they're asking for things that are perhaps not available as yet?
Yeah, the good thing about partners is they do demand a lot, and that's good, right? It keeps us honest and on our toes. So they will look at where the market is going and ask for support in those areas. In terms of the, let's say, certification side of it, I really see that partners go where customers go. So, and in some cases, the other way around too. Partners will lead the customers into areas where they think it's going to be helpful for them. So it's areas like the time management. I'm seeing a big increase in certification courses there because that's an area that there's forecasted to be more interested in from customers. So partners need to be prepared for that. And then in terms of certification and learning overall, what I've definitely seen, it's been fantastic, is the collaboration between partners on the different communities that exist. So it's not just doing the certification and doing the training and then going off doing your own individual work. Partners are staying engaged and helping others through blogging a lot about topics, blogging about the stuff they've learned, getting very active in the different learning rooms that we have and sharing questions and answers with each other. So that's fantastic to see. So it really is an ecosystem. It's a community, right? And the lifeblood of that is the knowledge sharing that happens. So I think that's the bit where we need to make sure that that's continues.
Fantastic, thank you. And as we come to the end of our conversation, I just wondered whether there are any other points that perhaps we have not discussed that you'd like to add. So if I could start with you, Melissa, if I may, is there anything we haven't discussed you'd like to throw in there?
I would like just to mention, and I forgot to do that previously, that we organize very often different sessions dedicated to customers and partners in terms of certifications, project team enablements on various topics and on most, hot topics like S4HANA, BTP, for example. The next one coming in at the beginning of April will be on BTP. So I would definitely encourage our customers and partners to visit those sessions. They are like usually 30 minutes or an hour sessions where you can learn a lot, and of course you can ask questions on any topic that you are not sure.
Thank you. And Paul Tormey, anything from you?
Yeah, I think I'm always reminded when talking about a certification topic of that. I think it was a LinkedIn post a couple of years ago where one manager looks to the other and says, "What happens if we invest in people's training and they leave?" And the other person says, "Well, what happens if we don't invest and they stay?" So I think it's a funny one, but it rings true, right? And
Very much so.
there's huge value in just investing in people. I think it really pays off, and for customers, because this is customer conversation. I think it's important to understand, where do the people in your team want to get certified? Where do they want to develop their knowledge, and to give them a path. I think the learning journey is great that it does that, but all the other resources combined will allow them to build out their career, and that's going to benefit the organization. It's going to benefit them. It's going to benefit us too. So it really is a win-win on all sides.
Thank you. And finally, from a customer perspective, Paul, anything to add?
Yeah, just to, if customers out there aren't familiar with the resources that we've discussed throughout this session, go get familiar with them, because the learning journey is a great place. OpenSAP, as we've discussed, there's some great stuff available there to upskill. It's, as we know, the environment we work in, it's ever changing, so there's always something new to learn.
Oh, fantastic. Well, you know, Melissa, Paul, thank you very much. Thank you so much for your time and insights. And to our listeners, thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed the conversation and found it valuable. In addition, you can, of course, read our certifications guide, which will be linked in the description below to learn more, along with other links that our guests have provided to give you more insight into the opportunities available to you. So I hope you found it valuable. And until the next time, stay safe, stay well, and keep washing your hands.